in the field of chiropractic, I love it because there's probably 40 primary techniques of how you can go about addressing the spine, and then you can choose what you like, as opposed to, let's say, a dentist. Most dentists, it's the same everywhere across the country. Not all, but there's a pretty good branding with dentistry. Now, chiropractic, that also means our branding's terrible, because you can go to 5 different chiropractors and have wildly different experiences. So for myself, because I was more mature going to chiropractic school, and as I'm thinking about what technique do I want to select and focus my study on, I was asking myself this question: what is the technique that uses the least amount of force but makes the most change? Least force, most change. And there were quite a few techniques that I immediately was ruling out because they seemed a little too aggressive. The technique that I've locked in on is called Network Spinal. Used to be called Network Spinal Analysis, but I love it because it has kind of a metaphysical approach to it, a holistic approach. It's like blending some Eastern and Western stuff together. And I'm actually using very light touch and not putting forces into the body, but yet changes can still occur. So anyway, that's a little bit about me. Let's see if we can jump ahead here. Okay, so just some fun facts. Before we do that, what are some things that you might want to hear about tonight?
Specifically, what you just said.
Okay.
Because I came from Seattle and it was just a different world.
Okay.
You know, and I came here and my insurance lets me go somewhere and it's bam, and it's just
this aggressive, yes.
It felt more like I'm looking for someone, or that's going to look at what's going on and say, what else is going on in your body?
Oh, I love that.
You know, was breast cancer part
Yes.
of this? Was something?
I love it.
Like you're saying, holistic. There really aren't a lot. They have this technique, but it's like, wait a second, that's not all I have.
Right.
I have a brain, I have a soul, I have parts that need to connect, and that's what I'm really looking for.
Oh, beautiful. So I'm glad you're here, and I think we're going to get into at least a little bit of that. We don't have a huge amount of time, but we'll get into a little of that. Anyone else? What's something that you maybe hope to hear about or have an interest in?
Kundalini,
Yeah.
passage of force up the spine.
Oh, I love that.
Sushumna.
Sweet.
Okay.
Yes, that's tied in with this. Perfect. Anyone else? All right, great. So you can see the old education, you start, what are we going to learn, that kind of thing. So we can't ever escape that. So what we're going to do is I'm going to talk. I am a storyteller and I talk a lot, but I'm going to try to not talk too much. I want to also do a demonstration to show how we can put some of this into practice, especially as it relates to advancing the spine up towards higher states of consciousness. Like, we don't think of that when we think of a chiropractor, but it's absolutely available. So we'll have some demonstration and then also some time for some question and answers. So let's just jump into some facts here. The spine, average human spine, has about 220 ligaments, 100 joints, 120 muscles, and 33 vertebrae. 33 vertebrae, that's a really cool number. At one point I knew all of these from memory, but you use it or you lose it, right? I still know most of it, and I can definitely resource it when I need it. I keep pointing at the screen instead of the computer. There we go. Okay. Human spine is very flexible because it has over 120 muscles attached to it. If you separated all of them and pulled them all apart, it would form 2/3 of a circle. The human spine is a remarkable engineering feat in and of itself. Had to take multiple classes on just the biodynamics of that, and it's super fascinating. One simple quick thing I'll just share with you, like if you start to turn your head, all the vertebrae are going to rotate opposite. So if I'm turning like this, the vertebrae are going this way. However, when it gets down to about where the bottom of the rib cage, somewhere down there, it'll go the other way. So the lumbars are going the opposite direction than what the top half is doing. That's why then a chiropractor says, Don't lift and twist, right? Because there's a place where opposite things are happening, and that's where you can cause some problems. Again, I'm a slow learner. What do I need to do, Ray? Just keep doing it over and over. All right, spinal cord weighs about 35 grams. It's a ½ an inch thick. It stops growing around age 5, and after that, your body grows around the spinal cord. So your spinal cord, attached to the brain, goes down to about L2. So when you're a child, that goes all the way to the bottom, but as you grow, there's a little bit of a gap there. There's still definitely a lot of filaments that go there, but the actual end of the spinal cord does not go all the way to the bottom to the sacrum. 13.5 million neurons estimated in the spinal cord. Spinal cord is really in charge of everything. Your nervous system's in charge of everything. So it's the brain and the spinal cord together, and then with all the components. And so we're going to get more into this as we go. I like to say that the spine is where your conscious mind and your subconscious mind meet. It's where your brain and your body meet. It's where your past and your future meet. So where's my future? Well, it's out here in front of me. Where's my past? It's back here, right? Past is behind me. Now where behind me? So if I do this, did I leave it way back there? Well, no, it's all recorded back here. So the past is still with me, I'm bringing it with me, but it's back there. So the spinal cord is kind of that place where all these things are interfacing. And it's also giving a lot of protection to our body. Let's go back really far, and I'm not an expert in Egyptology, but there's some interesting things here, and you might know of other interesting things as well. So let's talk about philosophy and practice. Edwin Smith papyrus is very interesting. Over 3000 BC, there was already a lot of information written down about the way they practiced medicine in ancient Egypt, and even things like surgery were described in this papyrus. They looked at medicine in a more holistic way than we do. So the doctor was also a priest, doctor and priest, because they didn't separate the spirit from the body. In our modern allopathic method, we like to do that. You got a mental problem, go see the psychologist. You have a spiritual problem, go see your spiritual leader. You have a physical problem, go see your medical doctor. Well, is that really what we want to do? Well, so the old model was, nope, they looked at it more holistically. They had houses of life where they would have training for these people, but also where you could come and receive some medicine. There are a lot of artifacts where you'll see the figure has this little wand in their hand, and wands of Ra, some people call them wands of Horus. They're still learning about what is that about. So there's something in these wands, crystals, minerals, etc., that were very important for helping to rebalance the physiology of a human that was feeling ill. So this was part of, if you were a doctor, you'd be carrying this thing around. And so we can see them in the statues and things. So be watching for that. Sometimes you see a statue and there's a little, it's not a scroll in their hand, it's this. And you can definitely do some research on that. It's pretty fascinating. Wisdom of the universe, astronomy, energy, sound, and numbers for healing. All these things, reflexology, sound healing, these were all the tools for the way they would heal people way back. Now here, I think this is interesting. Okay. Can you help me, Ray?
Yeah, I'm going to go back to
I'm
start. I have to go through this.
okay.
Do you know what material the wand is made of?
I don't, and there's a lot of speculation about it. There's definitely people that think they know. So there's kind of two main spiritual components here. The first one is Thoth, which is masculine, the god of moon magic and writing, and connected with the spirit world for diagnosis and root causes. So the diagnostic side would be here. And so a person might specialize in one of these, but one side is diagnosis and the other side is treatment. One side is masculine, one side is feminine. And then here's kind of a picture of what that looks like. And on the other side, we have the Sekhmet, different ways to pronounce it, but the goddess, feminine, of destruction and healing. I always like that when, I think that's so appropriate with feminine energy, that there's the healing and the destruction. So it's like, don't mess with mama, you can get one or the other, right? So like this is very, very old. But that's treatment of disease, and they looked a lot at the body's energy veins or meridians, energy centers. A lot of components here that line up with what eventually became Chinese medicine. So old stuff that was very holistic, and we're kind of coming back around to some of these techniques, and they're really cool. Welcome everyone that's coming in. Take a look at this. This is pretty interesting. So they speculate that the ancient Egyptians knew quite a lot about disease of the body, kind of some about the brain, not as much as what we know, obviously, but you'll see these kind of figures, and they line up with the structures of the brain. So we have the ventricles here, and the pituitary gland, and the pineal sit there, and the pineal is very important as we talk about things like Kundalini energy and higher consciousness. Pineal gland is super important. Those ventricles actually touch those important glands. And so as that energy comes up to the top, that's very important. And then we also will see some of the symbolism that they use is very, very much in line with that. I want to drop back one, I'm just going to come back to this later, but sometimes you'll see a snake figure on the head dressing for Egyptians, and we'll touch base on that again in a minute here. So, medical symbols. Let's take a look at that. This is fascinating. This is really old stuff. So, the rod of Asclepius, Greek god of medicine and healing, we have a serpent and a staff. Now, AMA uses this as well as 2/3 of medical groups, modern groups. They get really upset if they see that one. People think that AMA and medicine, modern medicine, allopathy, uses the caduceus, but they don't. They like this one. There's a single staff, single serpent. We know that the Greeks would sometimes take serpents, and if they came to your house and you were ill, they had certain serpents they would just let roam around on the floor. So there's something about this serpent energy that was even part of Greek healing. But the caduceus, Romans had this. I think this was fascinating when I learned this, that it's a symbol for many medical companies. Medical companies are out there to make profit, right? And so it touches on Hermes, the god of commerce. And then that's right there on their symbols for some of these medical companies. But I want us to come back to this because we see this staff, we see these two serpents coming up to the top, and that has become a more modern symbol for things like Kundalini energy. And so just hold that in your mind. Let's talk about CSF. It's abbreviation for cerebral spinal fluid. So there is fluid that surrounds your spinal cord and your brain. It's about, in your body, it's probably about a glass full, about this full. This fluid turns over 3 to 4 times a day, and it's about the same amount as what's in a water bottle, like a little plastic water bottle. That fluid is extremely significant, and there are many that postulate that it's a very important piece in higher consciousness. I tend to agree. Things like cranial sacral, people will feel this kind of woozy kind of a sensation when they're having the treatment, and it's that fluid is starting to pump and move more completely, and it gives that kind of floaty feeling. Let's look some more at function of what is the function of the CSF fluid. It's a cushion for your brain and spinal cord if you get bounced around a little bit. There's a lot of features in here that benefit your immune system. They transport neurotransmitters. So when we hear words like serotonin and melatonin and all of these onins, these compounds, these feel-good compounds, they're getting transmitted through this fluid. So CSF fluid is very, very important. It's got a connection all the way from sacrum to clear up to the inside of the brain. I would postulate that it is a very important component of higher levels of consciousness traveling along the spine, and it's a fluid canal for the spine is really what it is. All right, how about frequency? I'm at the place in my practice where I can put my hands on different places in the spine and I perceive different sensations. I don't perceive specific sounds like tones. I have friends that do this same work I do that do, but definitely sometimes I may put my hands on a vertebra and I'm feeling different emotions or different sensations. People have been charting the frequency of each of these vertebrae. And so when we talk about sound healing, yeah, it's pretty important. So sound healing is very important. Here's a question for you. So which of the vertebra, which bone is the most musical? That would be the trombone. That was a bad one, huh? So I got to wake you up. You're falling asleep here. The trombone. Now, another significant point is I want to introduce this idea of a sine wave. So sine wave is very common in many areas of life. Even in our own life, we talk about how there's the ups and downs of what goes on. But many things, frequency, sound waves, they travel in a sine wave. When we have the spine, the shape of the spine is also in a sine wave. So we have these curves that are going on in the spine. And because of that, there are places where we can touch at equivalent places along the sine wave, and we can find an energy connection there. And I might show you a little bit of that in a minute, what that looks like. Chiropractors a long time ago came up with a thing, they call it Lovett Brothers, L-O-V-E-T-T. And basically what it's talking about is there's just different energies along the spine, because you take the head, the neck, the torso, the low back, the sacrum. It's a sine wave if we put the spine on its side. So there's a relationship then even between certain vertebrae in the spine. So in other words, sometimes I could put my finger at C3, which is kind of the deepest part of the neck curve, and L3 in the low back, and sometimes something will shift for the person in one of those two places if there's bound energy at one place or the other. So I can borrow energy from a brother somewhere along the spine. Does that make sense? So it's pretty cool. Posture. A lot of chiropractors, me included, look at posture. Posture is extremely significant. Our nervous system is constantly gauging whether or not there is safety or danger. So when you enter in the room, you're like looking around, where should I sit? I want to sit in a safe place. I don't want to sit in a scary place. If there's someone who has a scary posture, I'm going to not be near them. So we're constantly doing this on a subconscious level, even more than what we're aware of. And I would purport to you that how you cope with the world then is going to influence your posture. Let me show you some things. So the concept of manifesting. Okay, we all want to manifest. And the words that we speak are very important. They're sound waves, and we're creating with that. And so we want to choose our words carefully. So if I'm saying I want abundance, the words I say are very significant. Now, what is my posture like? What is my spinal column like? What is my nervous system, the tone of that? Because what if it doesn't match? Let me give you an example. So I'm going to just step forward towards you, and I'm going to change my posture, and then you tell me what is this I'm communicating. I want abundance. Okay, and then every time everybody chuckles. Why? it doesn't match, right? Like this is, I'm depressed, I'm beat down. So what do you think the universe is, what message are they picking up from me? If like every day for a year, I want abundance. I want abundance. Or it doesn't match, right? So we need to have it match. Here's another one that's very common. I want abundance. So look at this posture. I've got my head turned one way and my hips turned the other way, right? So like that's putting a great deal of tension on the spinal cord, kind of like wringing a towel. And so then I'm going to have neck pain on one side but lazy on the other, hip pain on one side, lazy on the other. Now that doesn't show up if I just stand here. I mean, I'm not literally walking down the street like this, but that's the posture that is being reflected by my nervous system into my body. And so if we hold that pattern a long time, it's going to create some imbalances. All this making sense? A little more. Shape, position, and tone of your spine determines the shape, position, and tone of your life, and vice versa. And vice versa. I want to tell you this is pretty cool. They did this research study, and they wanted to, like, what's a good way to treat depression? So they took groups of people and they divided them into groups like they always do, and then they had one group they did nothing to, maybe gave them a placebo or something. Another group, they gave them a common pill that they might give to someone who's depressed. A third group, they didn't give them a pill. What they said is, we want you for 15 minutes a day to stand in front of a mirror and just stand up really straight and look at yourself in the mirror and smile, but stand up straight. 15 minutes a day. That's all they're doing, right? So we get to the end of the study. This is a leading question, but which group had the most improvement? Well, the group that stood up straight and looked in the mirror and smiled. Now, even though they're depressed, they're kind of forcing themselves to do it, but that feedback loop coming back, they're seeing themselves in good posture, in healthy posture, which started to change then their behavior. Now, what happens if they stop doing that exercise and stop looking in the mirror? Well, okay, it's going to go back the other way, right? So either way this can go, but our posture is a reflection. So we're constantly reading people's posture. This graphic isn't the best in the world, but we're always looking at all of these things as we encounter people, and we're making a lot of decisions about what we think is going on with them. Embryology, like what? Embryology, I love studying it more than I thought I would. When there's embryos very early on and cells are splitting and forming other things, lots and lots of changes are occurring. Want to point out to you the ectoderm. The ectoderm forms the skin and the nervous system. They come from the same layer, the skin and the nervous system. In the mesoderm, we have muscles, bone, and heart. And it's like, so what? Well, light touch will connect with the nervous system in a profound way, because it comes from the same place in development embryologically. So a massage can be an awesome thing to receive, and it can do a lot of benefit for you. However, it's not going to connect with the nervous system in the same way that light touch on the skin will. If I go deep, now I'm into muscle layer. Does that make sense? So one of the foundational pieces of this is light touch connects with the nervous system in a profound way. Candace Pert, she says, from the top of the forehead to the base of the spine, classical chakra areas correspond to what are called nodal points, places where lots of neurotransmitters, neuropeptides are released. So I love this graphic because there's the spine again. Caduceus, Kundalini energy, two snakes coming from sacrum energy all the way up. So each place along the route, as we're jumping up another chakra, more things are happening. And then we get to the top, we have crown chakra, and everything is getting lit up. So then our health and our consciousness opens up. So the spine, the CSF fluid, the chakras, breath, all of these things come together for some amazing healing. Kind of a wrap up some summary stuff here, maybe. Healing, some of these are my opinions, some of these are facts. Healing is best from holistic quantum approach. The shape, tone, and position of the body and spine directly related to that of your life. Each of us is the best physician that we can have. The body knows how to heal itself, and the answers are within. So it's good to have someone look at your back and have your back, help you, but the answers are inside. Light touch connects the nervous system in a profound way. As personal energy centers engage, greater levels of health and consciousness are available. It's not about removing stress from the environment, it's about building resiliency. We can reprogram our nervous systems, our genetic markers, and our very lives. Epigenetics, there's so much information coming out on this right now. It's just totally awesome. So this is me. I want to do a demonstration next. I'm going to show you kind of a progression of how this can work. So I'll start out with some what I call bioenergetic. And bioenergetic is just the subconscious programs that are running in your brain that are telling you when to breathe, what your heart to do, all of those kind of things. And I'll do a demonstration, and I brought someone who's had some quite a bit of, I call it network care. They've got these strategies already built in. And so then you're going to be able to, kind of come around and observe, and I'll be telling you about kind of what's happening. And then we'll go up to some higher levels of stuff. So one of the things I love about this technique that I do with chiropractic, it's not just one gear. Oh, this vertebra's out, let's push it back. Nope, there's a lot of levels. So basic stuff, letting go of stress that you're holding, change that pattern of how you're coping with the world, transform some things going on in your spine, and then elevate to higher levels of consciousness. All right, so some things you can look at for reading later are there. Let me pull some things around here. Any questions real quickly before we start with this?
I have a question.
Yep.
Is there any sort of supplement or herb or exercise that promotes the health of the spinal fluid?
The spinal fluid?
Yeah, the cup.
Well, I would say, I love acupuncture, Chinese medicine. They build off I don't have that exact answer for you to just say it's this, but I think hydration is super important, right? Like the body already knows how to do this. We just have to keep hydration in us. We also need, on the spine here, we have the discs in between. They need hydration. That disc space, we start to lose height because the fluid that's inside those discs starts to shrink. And so we need some exercises, some cat-cow, it's a really good one, to kind of pump that fluid into the disc space. We need to stay hydrated, and that keeps that CSF fluid going. That's a great question. I would say probably I would refer that over to acupuncturists. Okay? Anybody else? All right. Well, I'll have my lovely volunteer come forward. Feel free to move and come around where you can see. This is kind of a small space here, but come wherever you can see. So the first thing that all of us are going to do is we're going to just observe. So let's observe breath. What's the starting point? Let's observe what's going on with the body. Are there any places where it's high or low? What are you seeing? What do you see with breath?
She breathes quite deeply to the low back.
Okay, really good breath down in here, right? Really good.
The left side looks a little high.
Yeah, do you see this looks a little elevated, a little active here? The muscles here are very active. All the way down the left side, because even here,
Your hip is
yeah, hips are a little askew. Okay, good. So we're just observing all of that, right? Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make some contacts along sacrum and the cervical, the neck. And those are places where I can access the nervous system. And what's going to actually happen is I'll make a contact and a little vortex of her own energy is going to pop up. And then her own breath is going to move along her back. And as it's doing that, it's going to connect her mind and body in a way that she doesn't normally. You're not born knowing how to do that, right? So we're introducing a strategy that she wasn't born with. Now, some people, they have their energy move inside and they're really still. And some people, it moves more on the outside. I picked her because hers is more external, it's more on the outside. So you will see her doing something, but it's her breath. So I just want you to pay attention to her breath. So first I just need to see what pattern she's in real quickly. Okay, so I'm just going to tell you, phase 4, you're now in 4. I'm picking the pattern 4. All right, now I'm going to look for, remember those Levitt brothers, those places along the spine? So as I'm touching those different places, I'm looking to see if she responds. So under my fingers, it's going to feel like a lot of tension, like almost like a little knuckle. So like there's one right there, right? So then if I find that spot down here that matches, yeah, and let's come all the way down here. All right. So like I can feel it. There's like a different sensation when I'm touching those 2 points than if I'm touching 2 other points.
It's relaxing into it.
Yes. So I want you to, again, observe and just pay attention and just see if you can actually feel what she might be feeling. So breath different now?
yeah.
And muscles, the large muscles in the back are moving a little differently now?
It's going up and down.
Right, and we want it to go all the way from here where the contact was made and to come all the way up the spine to the head and then to return. And hers is pretty fast. Like most people, it's about this speed. Hers, you're going to see it doing laps.
Does that mean she's more Vata energy?
I don't classify it that way. Now, what's interesting is that she's told me she's had a lot of network care and she used to be very still on the table, like didn't move. And then sometimes just a different interaction with a different practitioner. As soon as she started coming to see me, she's all over the place. Okay. Now, so I can also measure where that vortex, I want to see how far out it is, right? So at the beginning levels, it's only about this far. And then eventually, to get into higher levels of consciousness, I want it out like this far. Okay, so if I just come into her space and then come up above it, yeah, see, I'm influencing her clear out here, so it's out about that far already. So then I could go do some more stuff with her, some higher levels of things. But I do want to get it way out here. I'm going to shift and do some contacts up here on the neck. Yeah, question.
Before you started, I
Yes.
picked up that the neck felt compressed. And
Yes.
it felt like tenderness, an issue around tenderness.
Yes.
But it already seems to be shifting. From
Yes, and it immediately started hanging out up here.
Yeah.
it was like, ooh, we gotta let go of some stuff up here, right? So then her muscles are gonna start feeling a release of tension as this process is happening. So it's like if I said to you, hey, would you scratch my back right there? I'll show you where it is, right? When I say right there, you'll see me kind of wince or flinch. It's the same kind of thing here. So I can just touch the vertebra. C2 is like, it's got a lot going on. And then I want to find that spot where she's going to respond. Yeah, it's like right there. So then now I'm going to make my contact there, and then I'm going to go down to the depth. Let's go down to emotional depth. Then I'm going to do the opposite side. Now sometimes at this point, I might hear sounds. Because it's emotional, right? So emotion is energy in motion, and it usually is accompanied by sound. Now some people, they just don't like making sounds. It's like, it's okay, you can still have it happen. So let's see where we are now. Kind of reaching around. Yeah, so it's clear out here right now. I don't know if you could see that, but so I can start to then be doing work on her from clear out this far. Work because her energy field is now out this far, right? So if we look at an old painting from the Middle Ages where, the saint has the gold halo around him or whatever, that's the same thing, but it's just her energy aura is extending as she's doing this technique. So let's have you go to the other end of the table, face up.
Is the point where the blockage, is that correlated to chakras?
It certainly can be, and a lot of times the chakra issue is going to also be where the vertebra level issue is and the organ issues are. Okay, anything you want to tell us first? Anything that you experienced or?
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
That's a good response.
Definitely more relaxed.
More relaxed. Okay, good. That's great. All right, so now I'm going to be like all over the place because I want to go, in her intelligence field, I want to go deeper. So I want to go past the bioenergetic, just the anatomy of breathing. I want to go past emotion. I want to go past lower mental, upper mental, and then go even deeper than that. Okay? So now for this part, what I want you to do, like I need to bring my energy state higher, and then I want you to participate with me. So what does that mean? So just put your awareness and your intention on her and feeling what she's feeling and supporting her with good thoughts and love, right? And then just see what you feel. See how the room will actually feel like it changed. The atmosphere of the room will change. Okay? So then my posture is really important because I want my heart open and full. I don't want to be slouched over like in that depressed kind of posture. So I'm grabbing hold of some energy threads. Now we want, what I'm doing now is I'm getting more oscillators going. So we want 3 oscillators, 1 on each side of her neck, plus her heart. I want that heart, kind of like the heart chakra, opened up. And then I want them to dance, those 3 spots. So I'm finding resonant energy that's in her spine that can fuel this. Okay, good. All right, we want to get more breath going here. Okay. Right there. Good. Really good, really, really good. Okay. Right there. I'm going to bisect this. Good. 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 So now it's like spinning plates. So I've got lots of stuff happening all at the same time. Keep the breath. Good. All right. And we're just going to start weaving these things together. Really feel your heart energy. There you go. What are you feeling? What did you observe? Any comments? What did you see? Some of you maybe can see things.
I'm feeling energy move up. My spine.
Up you, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyone else?
Feeling there's more congruency in how our body's kind of functioning.
Yeah.
So you don't care what people call you instead of Dr. Luke, how about Maestro Luke?
Yeah, I love it when I feel like I'm weaving. Yeah.
No religious intention.
No.
But it feels like unity consciousness.
Yes.
Christ consciousness.
Correct.
And that we're actually like on a macrocosm healing the divine feminine through this person.
Love it.
Yeah. And I could feel her heart line just
Yeah.
as a feminine. I know that.
What that feels
push
like.
down,
Yeah.
push down,
Yeah, yeah,
push
yeah.
down, and I could feel you just like pulling, especially when you went like this.
Yes.
It was like spaghettis of hate, you know, just
Love
like
it.
upset and all of it just pulling
Mm.
outward.
Mm.
It actually reminded me of being a little kid and going to a Halloween at the house, and they had like a scary thing set up. It was, you know, spaghetti
Yeah.
in a box that you'd stick your hand into.
That kind of
It felt like
sensation.
forgetting all
Yeah.
fear, just everything,
Right.
pulling it out.
Beautiful. Love that. Thank you for sharing that.
Thanks for showing.
Now, so this work, often I'll do it in a group setting because we're all feeling it, right? We're all benefiting from being near her while she's doing this. And so this process then helps each of us, oh, she's letting go, I'm letting go. Oh, I'm letting go too. Me too, me too. If I watch a funny movie at home by myself, I might chuckle a few times. If I go where there's other people, like in a theater, and people are laughing, I'm going to laugh a lot more because everyone's laughing with me. So it's that community effect. So we need each other. We're designed to be in community. Our spine is designed to not only protect us and help us move around, but also to help us have higher levels of consciousness. And so, again, part of why I love this technique is it's not just pushing a bone around. I want to help her adjust her life. She's doing it, not me. I want her to adjust her life and change who she is and be more of who she's here to be.